Mike, if you'll do the pledge, that'd be great. Father God, thank you for this wonderful afternoon, and please be with us and bless our meeting and give us your wisdom to make good decisions for our city. In Christ's name, amen.
Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mary, would you please call the roll?
Sir. Chair Harris,
Here.
Vice Chair Morrell, Mr. Pereira, Mayor Brown,
Present.
Councilman Fan,
Here.
Strouder,
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here.
All right, thank you. Approval of the minutes is next. The secretary is on his way, so I'm going to skip that and come back to it when John's here. So we'll move on to public comment on agenda-related items. So if there's something on tonight's agenda that anyone in the audience would like to speak on, this is your opportunity to come and speak. You have 5 minutes, and just ask that you state your name and address for the record. So with that, I'll open the public comment on agenda items.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Joanne Bates. I live at 120 Hicks Lane. I'm speaking on item number 4. Mr. Juan Calderon has been a good neighbor. He's got sturdy fences. He keeps his fields mowed. His cows are content. And at one time when there was a calf loose, my husband helped him get the calf back into his lot. He asked my husband, how do you know about cows? Because most people want to wave their arms wildly and scream and yell at them. Cows will go back if you just tell them which way to go back. My husband responded, we have a few cows. I'm hoping Mr. Calderon tonight will follow that golden rule of do unto others as what you would have them do unto you. We respectfully request that the commission not approve the zoning that's been asked for tonight, R8, it's spot zoning. The immediate area is zoned R40 and R15 with larger homes. I don't believe that even Hollywood Hills or Villages of Gallatin has that low of a zoning across from Dobbins Pike where this zoning is going in. Recently, we met at the Civic Center with Mr. Calderon, Mr. Mudd, and Mr. Harrison, who presented information about the project. However, at that time, no solution was given, which I understand. Mr. Harrison did write down our concerns, the plan tonight. However, it seems like it's a little bit worse. Instead of, there still is R8, there still are 180 plus homes on 77.55 acres. And now we have 2 exits onto Hicks Lane instead of just the one. We're concerned about traffic. In the plan proposed, it would be widened to 20 feet, but on any given day from the first day of August through the end of May, 15 Sumner County school buses travel that narrow 1-lane road with no markings and ditches on the side, and they travel to Benny Bills Elementary and Schaefer Middle. Many, I'm told, are multiple routes. The buses touch mirrors when they go past each other. After traveling that lane, also traveling that lane is now a cut-through road for county maintenance vehicles to their county maintenance garage area. It's a cut-through for people wanting to avoid the intersection to get their children to school. They come down Dobbins Pike and they exit into Hicks Lane. Recent paving, as I said, allows county maintenance to have large county dump trucks being traveled on that small lane. That's to say, too, that people use the lane as a shorter route as they walk to the Civic Center. Traffic is also an issue on Dobbins Pike at peak hours, especially the 180 days that Sumner County schools are in session. Traffic will be backed up from the intersection at the funeral home down Dobbins Pike all the way to 165 Dobbins Pike. And only 2 months of the year, June and July, do we have the ability to reach the intersection of North Water and Albert Gallatin without tremendous congestion in those morning hours. One proposed exit that they've said they want to put on Hicks Lane is directly across the road from a driveway of a resident at the top of the Blind Hill. The proposed exit at the upper end of Hicks Lane goes directly into Schaefer Middle School. They say the schools are okay with that, but I want you to be aware that the students travel from Schaefer Middle across that road to the fields, and in the afternoons after school, we have the Gallatin City Football League and soccer leagues that use those fields, and those children run back and forth between the school and the field. Just be aware if you're going to let that be an exit. Selfishly, I'm concerned about stormwater runoff. I'm this corner of the proposed trapezoidal lot that's being proposed tonight. And I'm concerned about the water runoff. After a large rain, I already have a large drainage coming downhill. My home is downhill from the property, and with multiple homes very close together, where will all that water go except downhill? I'm also concerned about the adequate buffer between my home and 15 to 18 backyards, because my property adjoins this property on two sides, due unto others. We beg to differ what's stated in the documents that were attached in your portfolio tonight. Your number 5 says the rezoning and the master plan will not adversely affect adjoining property owners. I beg to differ just a little bit. And number 8, the rezoning and the master plan will be compatible with surrounding environment. No, it's not. You're asking for R8, R15, and R40 around us. And one last question. This parcel touches and is next to Triple Creek, and I'm wondering if the city has explored the option that was stated by Mayor Brown at a recent meeting to put the exit going out through the park, or even better yet, purchasing the property for the critical need for expanded park facilities. I've seen the lines exiting Triple Creek. I've heard the multiple comments of market in the park. Please, as a farm family, let's preserve the land for something that would be of great use, and that would be a park. Last time I spoke here, I spoke with Velma Brinkley, and we talked about Tommy Garrett's aquatic center. Wasn't that a great decision? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on items on the agenda? And also, I failed to mention, there are individual public comments on several of these items, so if you'd rather speak at the time that I'm talking about the item, that's your option as well, but you're welcome to speak now.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Joe Johnson. I live at 170 Dobbins Pike, and I, too, would like to speak on with Ms. Bates on the Myers Hill project. We have a definite traffic problem as it is, and with the infrastructure, first of all, is there anyone here that could tell me approximately how many single dwellings permits have been pulled in the last 2 years in Sumner County or in Gallatin? I know there's approximately 1,350 houses going in at Nexus. That means on the average of 2 cars per household. That's double, so that'd be what, right at 2,700 cars there. And you want to put another 180-something houses on Hicks Lane, right off Dobbins. With the traffic as it is now, that'd be another 400 cars. So how are we going to get around? I mean, the traffic's terrible now. I can't hardly get out of my driveway at times. And I live on Dobbins. So when we put all this other traffic in there from these houses, it's going to be impossible for us to get out. I've had a stroke in the last couple of years, and I have to go to the doctor frequently, and sometimes a hospital, and it's getting out. It's to get out on traffic is terrible. There's other things we could do with that property other than build 189 more houses. I appreciate your comments or your letting me comment. And another thing, we were talking about the infrastructure. Well, the developer said they're going to put the infrastructure down Dobbins Pike. That's going to kill that 2-lane road. We'll really be hurting then for 3 to 6, 8 months, however long it takes to put all that in, water and sewer. I'd appreciate you taking the time and think about this before you vote on rezoning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is David Agee, and I live at 129 Hicks Lane. Going along with what Ms. Bates said, my neighbor across the street from me, I sit there and I work at like 5 to 1:30 or at 5 or 6 to 2, and every evening I have to watch the traffic coming down up and down the road, and buses having to stop, cars having to stop to let each other pass, and and like I said, I go into work at 5 in the morning and at 6 in the morning, and I already have trouble at that time of morning of getting out at the end of the street sometimes because of the traffic coming down Dobbins Pike. It's going so fast when they top that hill. You don't take that chance to pull out in front of them because you don't never know if you're going to get hit or not. And, by allowing this to happen and dumping more traffic on our street, it's going to cause more chaos. And who knows? I mean, do y'all want to have a bus load of children to go off in the ditch on that side of that road? On my side of the street, it'll be okay. The ditch is all right. But on the ditch on the other side of me, if that bus goes down in there, children are going to get hurt. And, the county come out there and they tried to make improvements to the road. I'm thankful that they paved the road and all, but where they took and they tried to put edging on the side of the road, it's already washed out. It's already washed out past my neighbor's house. And, you can go down there and you see where the gravel has washed out. And then from the runoff that they were talking about, it floods my neighbor at the end of the street, on my side of the street. It floods his yard all the time. And at the corner, on both corners of the street there from the runoff that comes down the road. And, one other thing that I'd like to say is, that creek that's on that property, it feeds a wetland area, okay? Well, that creek now, thanks to people that has no regard for nature or anything else and all, they trash in it. It's already polluted. I mean, who knows what it's done to that wetland down there. Then whenever the county come down through there and they poured that gravel and paved and stuff and all, well, a lot of that gravel is ended up in that creek. So, it's just a whole big mess out there. And if you dump that many houses out there in that neighborhood, it's going to be worse. And you're just going to have a situation to where the whole thing is going to be overloaded. And then also, another thing that comes to mind to me is that Gallatin Park and then the Village Green up the road from me. Every time you turn around, you see law enforcement. You see ambulances. And then down there by Mr. Cam's Market on 109 North, same thing. You see police department. You see ambulances. I mean, and I'm not talking about just one police car. You see several police cars. And I mean, this is constantly, every week. It happens every week. All right, we do not need a situation in our neighborhood to where we're going to have to worry about having to have the law out there constantly. You're going to put that many people, that many cars and stuff out there, there's going to be trouble. If it has to be developed to where there's going to be homes on there, if it matches to what we already have out there, I mean, I'm like my neighbors, it doesn't bother me. But when you want to dump that many people, that many cars into such an area, it doesn't make a bit of sense. I mean, I can't see any kind of practical thing to it at all. And then also out there on the bypass, 109 bypass, they're already developing it out there so fast and all, with all these other new homes and all. Why, if they're developing all of that out there, why do we need that kind of a development in our neighborhood? Where's our peace? Where's our tranquility? We all moved out there because
Thank you, sir.
it was such a nice place.
Sir.
And it's peaceful. It's quiet.
I appreciate it. Your 5 minutes has expired, sir. So your time is up.
Time's up. Well, thank you. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right, absolutely. Anyone else wishing to speak under public comment on the agenda-related items? All right. Seeing no one indicating they wish to speak, we'll close public comment on the agenda items. I'm going to go back to the minutes from the February 4th meeting now that the secretary's here.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll submit the minutes dated February 4th, 2025, the work session meeting minutes, and the agenda minutes from February 24th. And I move that we approve with no changes.
I've got a motion and a second for approval of the minutes with no changes. Any conversation? All right, without a call for the vote, all those approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, minutes are approved, and that will move us on to the consent agenda. And tonight's consent agenda just has 2 items. It's the sureties and Oak Hill Phase 3 preliminary plat. So I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and a second for the approval of the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, consent agenda is approved, and that will take us to item 4, which is Resolution 2025-027 Wawa, Long Hollow Pike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jim Carpenter, staff planner. The owner and applicant request approval of a preliminary master development plan for Wawa, Long Hollow Pike on a 3.53 plus or minus acre portion of a parcel zoned MU mixed use district located south of Long Hollow Pike and west of Greenlee Boulevard. This property was zoned MU as part of a larger rezoning, but there was no preliminary master development plan for the property. So this is the first PMDP that has been submitted for this property that is west of Greenlee Boulevard. The owner and applicant request approval of an exception, alternate architecture plan for the fuel canopy, the building, the convenience store, food service, mixed-use building, basically is within the 70% brick stone requirement on all facades. However, the canopy does not match one of the conditions for convenience sales and service. So they're asking for an exception to be consistent with their brand style. With that, planning staff recommends approval of resolution number 2025-027 with 15 conditions.
Jim, this item has an individual public comment on it, so I will open a public comment on Resolution 25027. Anyone wishing to speak? All right, see no one wishing to speak on this item, we'll hear from the applicant.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Landon Boggs with Kimley Horn. Kristen Ritz with Wawa is with me as well. We have no issues except for the 3 of the 15 stipulations. Number 5 is the coordination with TDOT. There's plans for some major improvements along Long Hollow, and we do have a coordination call set up with TDOT within the next couple of weeks. So we're just requesting this be, the approval be contingent on that. Item number 7, we're going to work with engineering regarding the contributions for the peak hour contributions. And we received the notification from that today about what those are, and we will work with them for those costs. And then item number 13 is the one that Mr. Carpenter mentioned about the fuel canopy elevations. We're requesting that we use the Wawa standard. It is their trademarked canopy. And something to note is that this building will sit lower than the roadway, so it won't be pronounced. It's not going to be a major a noticeable item from the roadway. So
How much elevation change is there from Long Hollow Pike?
about 8 feet is what our plan is, from finished floor to the intersection. It's about 8 to 10 feet.
Significant. So,
Be glad to answer any other questions. Anybody?
I guess just like condition 5, you're mentioning about the TDOT. The way I read the condition, as long as that you guys work it out with TDOT, that's fine. So, okay, just making sure. Any questions or comments, a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
With the conditions or?
Payment conditions, yeah, with all 15 conditions.
I'll second the motion, but then I'm going to ask to amend the motion by removing item 13, which would, that's the one that would allow them to use the canopy, and I don't have an issue with it with the elevation
Yeah,
change.
I missed that. I agree with you. Yes.
Okay, so is that a second on my?
Yeah, second on yours, yeah.
All right. So all those in favor of amending the motion by removing condition 13, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, now we'll go back to the regular motion, which is the approval of the project without condition 13. Any questions or further debate on that?
I couldn't hear, you're a little tall, I think, for that microphone. I couldn't hear the other conditions that you were concerned about. I heard the TDOT, and then I heard 13 a little bit.
Number 7.
7, okay.
So it was just, it was a question on the financial contribution.
Okay, that's cool.
The verbiage, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to work that out with staff, so. Okay, we've already got that motion on the table. Yeah. All right, all those in favor of approval, say aye.
Did we have a second?
Aye.
We did. I seconded it. Any opposed, say no. All right, it's passed. Thank you. Item 4 is Resolution 2025-030, Myers Hill.
The applicant is requesting approval to rezone a 77.55 acre parcel that currently has no zoning to the R8 PRD Medium Density Residential Planned Residential Development District with a preliminary master development plan for Myers Hill. This is located east of Dobbins Pike and north of Hicks Lane. As you recall, this property was recently annexed into the city earlier last year. And this plan has been submitted to establish the zoning and the plan on the property. You have seen a very, very similar plan in the past when this first came in front of this body in 2022. At that point, the annexation and rezoning were considered closer together, and it did not make it through that process at the time. Annexation came in this last summer with just the annexation, no plan attached to it. And so now that this plan is requesting to move forward, we are starting this process. Any recommendation you guys make tonight will go on to City Council for further consideration. The applicant is requesting 189 single-family lots on the property. This is approximately 2.44 units per acre. That does include easements for a cell tower, as well as 2 gas lines that go through this property. With this, they also have open space requirements. There are a number of stream buffers that they are needing to avoid within this development, and access. I believe the main thing that was discussed when this plan came through or was looked at the first time was an access issue with Hicks Lane. Hicks Lane is a county road. I believe portions of it, or a lot of it, is under the 20-foot wide minimum that we see for being able to successfully get back and forth across this road with 2 lanes of traffic. And so their plan does indicate improvements along their property line, along Hicks Lane. We do have a condition in the resolution about improving the entirety of the eastern portion of this property all the way to Dobbins Pike to get that 20-foot wide section. Engineering can elaborate on that if they see fit. This plan does meet the open space requirement for the R8 zoning, not even including the easements. You can see the green space that is provided throughout this plan. The architecture is proposed to be 70% brick stone on all facades. And then the applicant did provide an exhibit to facilitate discussion about the potential connection to the city park. So I wanted to include this for you to see as well. Staff does recommend approval of this for your consideration. There are 5 conditions for this resolution, and a public comment would be required for this item. Thank you.
Welcome. Engineer, do you guys want to comment on the road?
Sure, yeah, we just wanted to make sure that, that Hicks Lane meets the fire code, the 20-foot minimum, the entirety of the property as well, all the way to Dobbins Pike. Something else I did want to bring up, and this is more of a decision that this body and city council, should it move forward, would decide, and that's considering what type of connection to Triple Creek Park is desired. If you expect this to be anything other than emergency access, you should take into consideration the number of driveways, the driveway spacing, residents backing out onto the roadway, how much on-street parking is there, expected park traffic, things of that nature. So it's not for engineering to determine what type of access to the park this is, but to bring up what you should take into consideration as you look at this plan. We do recommend that there should be a secondary access to the park, and there is some potential for this to suit that need, but not how it's laid out now.
All right, thank you. Before we hear from the applicant, this item does also have a public comment on it. So is there anyone in the audience that's not spoken already on the item that wishes to? This is your opportunity to speak. So with that, I'll open the public comment. Seeing no one in the audience indicating they wish to speak, I'm going to close the public comment and hear from the applicant.
Good afternoon. Mitchell Lastly with CSDG. We're also going to have Jim Harrison in the background with CSDG. We expect Myers Hill development to be a good opportunity for first and second time home buyers to kind of step into the marketplace. We'll provide abundant open space, ample sidewalks for walkability, and as mentioned, a great potential connection for future park expansion or just connection to that. We did hold a neighborhood meeting, and we had a few of the residents come out and speak. Joanne Bates was there, and some of her comments regarding Hicks Lane, the width of that. So when this project came to you before, it was a lot narrower, just wide enough for maybe possibly 2 school buses to pass. Since then, the Sumner County Highway Department has come out and widened that to roughly 18.5 to 19 feet. And we are in agreement with staff comments to widen that to 20 foot from the property line all the way to Dobbins Pike. So we think that would alleviate some of those concerns. Another concern that was brought was the additional connection on Hicks Lane, kind of midway on Hicks Lane between the property. So that connection, it lines up, basically it would send car lights directly into their front door. Additionally, it's on a high point. There could be some sight distance issues. And we believe if we remove that connection, it would funnel traffic directly to the school drive, and essentially removing unnecessary traffic volume on Hicks Lane. Another concern was students walking across Dobbins Pike to get to Schaefer or possibly Benny Bill's. I believe there are students walking across Dobbins Pike and onto Hicks Lane to get to school. With our sidewalk connections, we would remove those students off of the road, get them onto a sidewalk, and provide a safer path of travel. We do have a density of 2.44 units per acre, 189 lots, and on the plan Gallatin, it recommends 2 to 5 units per acre, so we are on the lower end of that range. We have provided a traffic study from RG Phillips, and we're doing the necessary road improvements dictated in that traffic study and engineering staff recommendations. We have 46% of the site will be preserved as open space, which is roughly 36 acres. We've got 3.5 miles of sidewalks via the sidewalks. We've got pocket open spaces throughout the development and located along the stream there. We will have larger play fields in the northeast and east side of the lot. And we'll have a large natural open space in the existing cemetery. But we're here tonight to answer any questions. We're thankful for the input that we've had to make the project better. And we look forward to a recommendation to City Council.
One thing I want to clarify, that the access that shows midway on Hicks Lane, that's coming in across the street from one of the neighbors that came and gave us input at the neighborhood meeting. That made a lot of sense to us. That was an access that got added in as we were going through the planning comments. We think that could be pulled out. You would still have a connection to Hicks Lane. That would encourage the traffic within the subdivision to use the infrastructure we're building as part of this subdivision to get to Dobbins Pike versus using Hicks Lane. Even though Hicks Lane's widened out to 20 feet, that was one of the, as we went through the neighborhood meeting and we received input, that was one that we felt like had a lot of validity. I will say another thing or two. We will have detention ponds, water quality ponds as part of this. We'll make sure we're decreasing all the drainage as it's coming off the site. I know that was commented on earlier. We have open space in it, including some of the cell tower area where we're putting play fields. We've got a lot of open space built into this that's usable open space. Probably the biggest area is that open space. I don't know what it's called. It's open. It's the one on the left, kind of in the southwest corner. But we also have lawns, kind of lawn areas built in around the subdivision. So as people walk, they can go have these lawns to kind of rest on with benches and things like that. One thing, Aaron mentioned the park access. We have a cul-de-sac out there right now. We're really quite flexible on what staff would like to see on that. We started to modify that to a hammerhead and kind of extend it on over onto the city property and straighten out those lots. We can adjust that as engineering sees fit to make sure that it works for that secondary access. Some of the thought process as we laid this out, we knew that that might be a good secondary access, but we also wanted to make sure as people came into the subdivision that it was kind of diffused. The traffic in that secondary access had the chance to turn left down to Albert Gallatin or go straight out to Dobbins Pike, because we felt like if that traffic was diffused, it would be helpful, if that makes any sense. The last thing I'll comment on, the buses on Hicks Lane. This provides, not only improves Hicks Lane, but it provides adequate infrastructure for those buses to navigate from Dobbins Pike back to the schools, and it gives them another path to do it. It also helps not only diffuse it, but we will build the new roads in a way that give those buses adequate pathways to run. And so those were some of the things. We heard a lot. We were down there for, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours listening. I mean, there weren't a lot of people that attended, but there was a lot of input. It was very helpful to go through the neighborhood meeting and get that input. We appreciate planning staff encouraging that and nudging us to go ahead and have that. I think that's always a positive thing to do. So we're just here to answer any questions. I just wanted to come up here and say hi. So thank you.
And the road connection you guys are saying would make sense to remove, so it's the one in between lots 54 and 55? Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And just looking, I'll make sure I'm looking at the plan right. So there's, as part of this, is there a sidewalk down Hicks Lane along your property?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Hickson, do we know the right-of-way on Hicks Lane? Is it that to the center stuff where they would have to work to widen it with adjacent property owners, or?
I can try that one. We had that question come up at the neighborhood meeting. How are we going to do that? Since it's about 18 and a half feet wide, we would widen it a foot on each side to try to honor those ditches in front of the existing homes and not do any more disturbance than we needed to, and then pave over top of that.
Who owns that foot and a half is my question.
It's county right away. We would have to coordinate that with Toby and make sure that he's on the.
I remember a discussion way back when about if the property owner right-of-way went to the middle of the road, and I think there was some question about that documentation, that then you would have to have the property owners agree to have that road widened in that place.
I think the county road department went out, I don't know when it was about a year ago, went out and widened it. There's probably a good, I don't know exactly how much it is, 5 or 6 feet on each side that's got ditches and things in it. And we would be operating within what they've maintained for a long time. I'm not an attorney, but
Yeah,
that
but
means.
still, that right-of-way could be an issue. I really, if this goes forward, I really want to see it connect to the park. I mean, that makes sense. And then when I'm looking at this plan, well, first of all, I'm uncomfortable with exceeding the density of what we've already approved over in the Lot 4 area, because I look at this area as a little further out from core infrastructure. But having that main drag with so many houses backing out onto the main road, which leads me to ask the question, on Buckingham Boulevard, is that a similar density to this? Just because it seems like a lot. If you've got all those houses wanting to get to Dobbins Pike, those two main roads to Dobbins Pike have a lot of driveways backing out into it. But I'm not an
Are you
engineer.
talking about Road A and Road B?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what the density is off of Buckingham, but I do believe they have longer driveways. They might have more of an opportunity to, maybe turn around on their driveway and maybe pull out instead of
I
back.
don't really, I feel like most of the ones along Buckingham do back out, but I know that that's become an issue for people who live along that road. And I sense that it's a lower density than what we're seeing here, but I don't know.
Density-wise, I'm not sure.
Oh, and I also wanted to know across the street, I know it's not in the city, but Hollywood Hills, what's that development primarily? Is it about third acre lots?
I don't know.
Not sure.
I'm just looking at comparable density across Dobbins. I'm trying to ascertain if it is comparable, because I can look at the map, but I can't tell you.
Mayor Brown, were you suggesting, when you said about the main drag, is that the road that would go from the park into this development? Or
No, mine was actually thinking the connection to Dobbins Pike, A and B, just because,
I know in other developments that we've recently done, we've had those designed more like a collector, where, it comes in and there's either homes that front onto that with alley access or maybe back onto it, but, that could be a potential way to design it. If you designed it from Dobbins all the way into the park as a collector, then streets access that.
We could, one thing, if, and I honestly, this is a new comment, but we can coordinate with engineering and kind of see what the concern would be from respect to stacking, and certainly look at that alley-loaded option, like we've done on the collector streets and the banks, and see if that's a,
yeah, I feel like going to council, that would be a concern. The lots adjoining residential property, like was mentioned by one of the commenters earlier. And I think that a connection to the Park Road would make the project far more compelling. Those are my thoughts. Somebody disagree with me or agree with me or something.
I can agree. I think the connection to the park is important. My big concerns with this when we had it 3 years ago was really Hicks Lane and the traffic and getting through there. So if the road's getting widened all the way through, I have less concerns about Hicks Lane specifically, especially if we remove that other access point. I think that's going to funnel the traffic more towards Dobbins Pike. So, but as far as the density, I mean, it's on the low end of the density for the character area and the houses. So that was my main concern back when it was before. So.
Well, thank you, because I just feel like those three planners or two planners and engineers sitting there saying, she is such a bad planner. So,
Your traffic study, did it entail the connection to Dobbins Pike?
Yes, in fact, that's a great question. We actually included on this plan the turn lanes and everything that were recommended in that traffic study to maintain a B level of service at that intersection.
I know they've just resurfaced Dobbins Pike, so you're saying that they are expanding?
We would put in a left turn lane on either side, and the way that typically would happen is we would resurface any of the transition area through that section where we would change it. I know one of the things was mentioned, and that would be done in a way where you maintain two-way traffic on Dobbins Pike. There actually is we've coordinated with Gallatin Public Utilities. There's some utility improvements. We know what they are. We know we can meet all the standards. There's a water line on the west side of Dobbins Pike that would need to be upsized, and we can do that without interfering with traffic.
I'm speaking for me, I'd be reluctant on voting on this until I were able to see the traffic study and see what it involved, given that I've dealt with that aspect of traffic and things of this nature.
I'm going to volunteer that I was the one who made the suggestion about adding the extra stub out road to Hicks Lane. Mostly just it seemed like it's in the right spot for circulation-wise from the development to be able to appropriately spread out traffic trips whichever direction they may need to go. If you're in one corner of the development and you have to kind of weave your way through all the way to another side just to get out, makes it less nice, I guess, if, for those people having to do that. And also puts a lot more cars past other homes where could have kids running out in the street and whatever. So trying to get people out of the development quicker onto a street that doesn't have all those homes fronting onto it.
So I've heard two of you, whose opinion I respect a lot, advocate for the connection to the park, but I'm having trouble with that. Why would we advocate for through traffic through the park? Why do you want the connection to the park?
it's for the park traffic pattern as much as it is for access for a community like this one. Right now, all of the traffic for Triple Creek is dependent on that access to 31. And I don't think that necessarily serves this neighborhood all that great, to be honest. But it does connect this neighborhood to that park, and it does give an option. I don't think it'd necessarily be a preferred option, but it's certainly a safety option.
No, I can see that argument. I'm just, are we going to encourage this as an alternate route out and in that people use instead of Dobbins Pike? Are we going to get a lot of through traffic? I want connection to the park. I just don't want connection through the park. And that's impossible to do.
A connection through the park if it's absolutely necessary, but, you know, not on an ongoing basis unless this were designed quite differently or the city owned it. So, you know.
Real low speed limit.
It's also not a direct route through, which would be discouraging for people to cut through. But in a bad situation, you do have that connection.
question?
Kind of,
The 36 acres of open space, does that include the cell tower block?
The 36 acres does include that. We have 24 acres that removes all of the cell tower, the stream buffers, the easements, those things.
Make sure I understand that. If you take the cell tower, and I think you said there was a gas easement and a stream, if you take that out, if you were to take that out of the equation, what would your open space be on the property and what's required on this type of property?
It's 24 acres, 31%, and
28% is required.
8% is required.
So they are
Okay, so you-
exceeding it without those easements.
Okay.
Yes.
John, I mentioned this earlier. We are going to use that grass area around the cell tower, though, because for play areas and things like that, because, I mean, during a storm, those play areas aren't going to be active, so we're going to use it for like grass areas, and we're going to have some use for that fall zone, if that makes any sense.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm thinking out loud, which, as you all know, is often dangerous, but I was wondering if, say there was a road that went through the park, and this neighborhood accessed that road to get out on Dobbins Pike. In other words, maybe it ran the distance of the property, and instead of directly feeding onto Dobbins Pike, it fed onto that collector road, maybe on the other side, you know, kind of like Albert Gallatin is. Okay, so look, see where the main road goes into Dobbins Pike? What if right there it went up to, say, an imaginary collector road that's something like Albert Gallatin, and that is where they access that road to exit the subdivision, and then both. So you have a park road that goes all the way through, but it becomes a more major road as it gets close to the subdivision, and everybody goes to, say, a signal right there or something.
How would you do that again? I understand what you're trying to say, I just don't understand the route.
Well, okay, so say you took road B, and where it meets road A, road B would just go straight up. I'm saying if the road were on that side of the property, but maybe,
Gas easement that runs on that side of the property is probably a problem with that.
that's where the gas line runs?
Yeah, it's behind the houses on the north side of the page.
I'm just thinking create some kind of path where it goes to another road before it hits Dobbins Pike, so that could be the park road, so you wouldn't have the park road going through a neighborhood.
Excuse me. Yeah, to John's point, I can see the concern of the park traffic, because when Triple Creek Park empties out, it's a lot of traffic that goes through there. So I don't know that we'd want to control how that access through the neighborhood.
Is that just a theoretical connection? I mean, who owns that big block of land between this development and the park? Does the park own it?
The city owns it.
Oh, the city owns it? Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, so my first question until I looked at it was who owned it, and so.
And who would build it?
They would, not us, no. No, I'm trying to find, I'm trying to good with this. I'm trying to think of a way that it would make a good road for park, but that you would also have neighborhood access that didn't, in essence, have park traffic going through the neighborhood. So that there's a road, but the neighborhood road is off of that road as it gets close to Dobbins Pike.
So if the city owns that big block of land where the proposed connection is, I'm sure they have a master plan for the park. What's the proposed usage for that big tract? More ball fields?
No, that's that low part, I think, where the pavilion and the, they have the, what do you call it? Well, the rodeo, but also the truck pool, tractor pool, something like that. That's that area. Wait, no, I'm disoriented. I'd have to. That's where it connects to Gibbs Lane. back there?
I think there's an exhibit that we had in the package. I don't know if there's a way to show that on the screen. Because it's when we got to looking at the park access, there's natural features. The city owns the property between Myers Hill and the main active park. But that alignment going to that larger parking lot in the middle of the park seemed to be the only feasible alignment that didn't tear through ball fields and also worked across natural features. That's the reason we showed that alignment, because we were trying to think about how does traffic get out of there. And in my mind, and I've worked on a bunch of parks. I've worked on Drake's Creek for many, many years, and we added another access there. This one, attaching to that parking lot, would allow traffic to sort of naturally split and go to two different ways. That's one reason I asked the question with Aaron about how do we get an estimate about how much stacking is going on coming through Myers Hill. I think it's significant. We need to pay attention to it, but I think it's also short-term and probably not that hard to define, looking at what we know about what comes out from the current park right now. But the question, Mayor, are there more fields planned in there than's in there now?
Not where you're talking about coming through.
Okay. That piece I didn't know. But the reason we did that is because that seemed to us to be the only viable access to a road over inside the park that didn't tear through outfield fences and things like that, but also would get across the
And
creek.
that's like disc golf in there and
So more passive.
storage and,
Yeah. Those things can be moved around, I would think, or the road can be moved around a little bit.
I'll just tell you where I am. It's a good-looking, it's a well-laid-out site. It meets the open space requirements. Wish the density was a little bit lower than that, but I can't, in good conscience, make a recommendation tonight, and it's my own fault. I was sick 3 weeks ago. I wasn't here for the work study. I've read through this report, but I sure would like to read the traffic study report when we're talking about putting that much traffic on Dobbins Pike. I'm inclined to recommend in favor of it, but I don't feel like I'm prepared enough tonight, and it's my fault. So I will probably abstain from voting if we vote on this tonight. But I'll vote the next time, for certain.
Back on the question of the collector or the road that would connect to the park here. So one concern that I guess I have with if this property does connect to the park at some point and cars do want to come in this way to the park, you're going to be loading up any street that accesses that most directly with several more vehicles, and those homes do get a negative impact.
yeah,
All that
I mean, that's
traffic.
what I'm saying. I'm trying to
By them.
create some scenario where there's a main road that connects to the park, and then the neighborhood comes off of that. So they're
So-
not going through the neighborhood.
I think if that concept is to be considered, you would want that, even though, and I understand at the beginning, they had mentioned that they were trying to design it in such a way that it could diffuse traffic and not have it, barreling through or something like that.
I think they designed it first and then.
I think you could design it, in a way that, and we can limit speeds or whatever, that in a way that would accomplish that. But I don't know that it would be right for us to make that connection and allow the same configuration of design as it's currently set up because of the negative impact that you would
Oh,
have.
I don't
to those-
disagree. I mean, that's what, I
those
mean, I really
initial-
want a connection to the park, but I also don't want their neighborhood to be filled with cars on Saturday morning trying to get out of the soccer fields or whatever.
I have the same concern. I think the connection to the park's good idea. It needs to happen. I am very concerned about how it impacts the traffic through the neighborhood and you're putting more traffic to that neighborhood and potentially onto Hicks Lane. So it's problematic.
That looks like a pretty good stretch between the park and the subdivision, that connector. Do you have any traffic calming messages you want to use there?
We could incorporate traffic calming into that. That's a little bit of what I was hinting at when I was talking with Aaron. We could get in there and look at that, and honestly look at alley-loaded lots if we felt like stacking was going to occur. I think with the parking lots that are there, it's not that difficult and that challenging to count up how many parking spaces and do a kind of a breakdown. But having two accesses coming out of a park is a whole lot better than having one access coming out of a park, because then they can split and make choices. But we can have our traffic engineer kind of come in and give us some recommendations on what they think the distribution would be through there to make sure we don't have people backing up in front of somebody's driveway. I think that's the biggest practical concern that I'm hearing expressed, and we get it. But we could follow up and get some of that information over, which I think, Aaron, the traffic study is not required normally at this phase, but we had done it, actually had to dig it out and send it over to engineering today. We're like, whoops, we probably should have sent this to you, but that's what we used to design all this, because we wanted to make sure we were doing a traffic study and doing it carefully. But we have good background traffic that we can overlap on a Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, and that's when you're going to see it, is that one day of the week normally, when you've got a lot of heavy impact.
I'm in and out of the park pretty regular over there, and like on Saturday mornings. And there is a problem now getting in and out.
I think, I guess we're having some conversations that sounds like there's going to be some redesign and some considerations for how this works with this access road. Our job is to send this to City Council with a recommendation for the way it's laid out, whether we are recommending for it or against it. And with the changes we're talking about, I don't know that I can recommend sending it on to council in its current state.
Is that a motion for deferral?
It sounds like we need to defer and get some of that information together. So, I mean, that's what we're hearing pretty loud and clear.
I'll make a motion to accept the applicant's request for deferral.
Yeah, second.
Okay. All right. All right. All those in favor of accepting the applicant's request to defer, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. We'll let them do some work on that. Okay. Item 5 is Resolution 2025-031, Freedom Church Outparcel within Kensington Downs.
The owner and applicant request approval to rezone .33 acres from the A Agricultural Residential District to the PGC Plan General Commercial District with a preliminary master development plan for the Freedom Church outparcel on .88 acres. This is incorporating part of the Kensington Downs Master Plan. They are proposing a small multi-tenant building that could have both retail and food service potentially. They do not have future users at this time. The plan incorporates parking on the property with landscaping, as well as overflow parking onto the Freedom Church lot with crosswalk and sidewalk access. This outparcel, the northern portion is already zoned PGC. It's been zoned PGC since even before Kensington Downs came in. It was always intended to be an outparcel for Kensington Downs. The additional .33 acres includes land that's been part of Freedom Church and also land that was recently vacated by the city that was the previous Freedom Church Road connection to Greenlee. That Freedom Church Road connection now connects up to Grandstand Boulevard, and that portion is now, the church got that portion back when it was vacated, and they'd like to include this entire .33 acre piece of property, rezone it to match the PGC of the northern part, and incorporate this all into one lot, which honestly makes it better, easier to develop. The plan right now includes architecture that is just a regular multi-tenant building. They are indicating that they would meet the brickstone requirement with this development. And on your screen, I just incorporated the first phase of Kensington Downs, so you can see that out parcel, how it was previously. Staff does recommend approval of this request with 5 conditions. Resolution 2025-031, and this item does come with a public comment.
All right, thank you, Jillian. At this time, I'll open public comment on Resolution 2025-031. Anyone wishing to speak? All right, seeing none, I will close the public comment and hear from the applicant.
Luke Talley with CSDG. We have read all comments and are in agreement with them and happy to answer any questions.
Questions? This is pretty straightforward. Motion to approve with staff's 5 conditions of approval.
Second.
All right, motion. Give it to Albert. All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 6 is Resolution 2025-009, Nichols Place Phase 4.
Good evening, Brad Hickman, Staff Planner. The owner and applicant request the approval of an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan for Nichols Place Phase 4 on 5.10 acre portion of a 9.98 acre parcel zoned MRO, multiple residential and office district, located south of Nichols Lane and east of Ferguson Boulevard. In the original approved FMDP, there were additional units. The units count has been reduced by 1, and 2 of the smaller units you see here have been added. The other change to this is the addition of 2 additional guest parking spaces here as well, and the extension of Ferguson Boulevard to the property line. Staff had minor comments around this submission. I believe we would like to see some more of the right-of-way lines drawn to the border, and there is the matter of a surveying error that left a pie slice of land here that will need to be quitclaimed or replatted. You see some of the elevations for the 2 smaller units to be added. They had to do that because of the restrictions of the land, but they have similar elevations to the current product that's in the development. The Planning Department recommends approval of resolution number 2025-009 with the following 9 conditions as a minor amendment, and this has public comment as well.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'll open public comment on Resolution 2025-009. Public comment is open. Seeing no one jumping up to speak, we'll close the public comment and hear from the applicant.
Luke Talley with CSDG, and we agree with all staff comments and happy to answer any questions.
This is kind of like the last one, since it's pretty straightforward. John, you got questions?
This, I can't remember where we left it. On the boulevard extension to the property line, did we say you're building it now or putting a surety bond in place to build it when we know the elevations and grades of the adjacent property?
It would be built now.
It would be built out now? Okay. Fine by me, as long as it gets built. That's
Okay, I got a motion for that to be a minor amendment and a second by Mike. All right. I think it's clearly a minor. All those in favor of being a minor amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Abstaining because don't know what you're voting on.
1 abstention. So, okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the item with the 9 staff conditions of approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further debate? All right, all those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, item 7 is Resolution 2025-029 Vinewood Townhomes.
Ready. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The owner applicant requests approval of an amended preliminary master development plan and revised final master development plan for Vinewood Townhomes on a 7.24 acre lot zoned MRO and multiple residential and office district, and a portion of a 3.9 acre lot zoned PGC Planned General Commercial District located south of Nashville Pike and east of Browns Lane. So the point of this amendment revision is kind of twofold at this point. So the first is to split off the office into its own lot. This was platted as a one-lot HPR. Staff is currently reviewing a final plat for this to separate off that lot. And then secondly, the applicant has also submitted updated architecture. So this would add 2-car garages instead of the 1-car garage product previously approved. Other than that, it maintains a very similar brickstone composition to what was previously approved, while adding parking for a pretty tight HPR development, condo development. With that, staff recommends that this be considered a minor amendment to the approved PMDP and recommends approval with 10 conditions, and then there will be a public comment on the side.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'll open a public comment on Resolution 2025-029. Anyone wishing to speak, now's your chance. Being no one in the audience indicating they wish to speak, I'm going to close the public comment and ask for a representative of the applicant.
Andy Leith, Greenlee Design, and happy to answer any questions.
I don't really have any questions. I think this is only improvements for this site. This is, one of the when we started seeing a lot of townhome projects, this one was pretty early. It was before we really were paying attention to asking for additional parking throughout these developments. So I think this one was going to be problematic with a single-car garage with parking. So we can't go back and add more parking at this point. But by them changing to a 2-car garage product, it's going to do a lot to help what would have been an issue, in my opinion.
A question for staff. So the change from a single car to double car, that's the minor amendment?
Well, technically, the change from a 1-lot HPR to a 2-lot is minor, but also, yes, in essence, both things would be minor.
Got it.
I would agree. It's a minor. In fact, I'll make a motion that it be a minor amendment.
Second, yep.
Got a motion and a second that it be a minor amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimously a minor amendment. Do you have anything else to add, Andy? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, I had a motion to approve from Mr. Thompson, second from Albert. With the 10 conditions.
With the conditions, yes.
All right, any further debate or questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. All right, it's approved. Item 8 is Resolution 2025-022, Twin Eagles Phase 15B, Section 3.
Good evening, Commissioners. Kimberly Atlee, Staff Planner. The owner applicant requests approval for an amended PMDP, FMDP for Twin Eagles Phase 15B, Section 3. The proposed 23 single-family lot ranging from 8,300 to 33,000 square feet, approximately 12 acres. Property is zoned MU, mixed-use development, and it's a section of the Twin Eagles subdivision. The amended PMDP opposes a minor change to the approved PMDP for reasons that the lots were reduced by 10 due to the detention and water quality. Staff recommends the amendment to be considered a minor amendment to the approved PMDP. A little recap on the history of the property. In May of 2021, City Council approved the annexation rezoning of PMDP for the Twin Eagles Phase 15, later to be known as Phase 15B. I'm only saying that because they changed the phase a couple of times, and you'll have that. So this section has 59 acres. To note, there are 5 sections to this phase. Phase 15B is a vital secondary access point to the Twin Eagles subdivision. This section 3 extends Dottie Lane from Phase 14 to Douglas Lane. To recap, last year, the Planning Commission approved the FMDP for Section 1 with 18 lots and Section 2 with 24 lots. During this discussion, the Dottie Drive was constructed, would be constructed up to binder and/or sureties would be required. I'm only telling you this, just not that this affects this property because it obviously has that access, but you'll know the conversation now. The architect elevations are consistent with the previous phase on the Twin Eagles subdivision. There are some minor corrections to the plans. Staff recommends approval of the resolution 2025-022 with 15 conditions of approval. This requires public comment.
All right, thank you. At this time, I'll open a public comment on Resolution 2025-022. So public comment is now open. Seeing no one indicating they wish to speak, I'm going to close public comment and ask for the representative for the applicant.
Andy Leith, Greenlee Design. Happy to answer any questions or in agreement with the comments. Construction plans have already been submitted to engineering for review, so the reason we're going ahead and getting this one in now is so that he can get started on that road.
I figured this had to do with getting the road figured out, so. First thing whether it's a major or minor amendment, I would argue it's a minor amendment, so.
Motion is good.
Is that a motion?
Sure, motion. Motion for a minor amendment.
Motion be a minor. Second. And a second, Mr. Pereira. So any debate or questions about major versus minor? Call for that vote. All in favor of it being a minor amendment, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so it is a minor amendment. Does anybody have any questions about the rest of it? Seems pretty straightforward to me, so.
Make a motion, we accept it with the conditions.
I got a motion from Albert to accept it with 15 staff conditions. I'll second it. So the motion is second. Any further debate, conversation, questions? All right, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. All right, it passes unanimously. Item 9 is Resolution 2025-023, Rogers Group Office.
Good evening, Commissioners. Charlie Peary, Staff Planner. The owner and applicant requests approval of a final master development plan for the Rogers Group office on a 0.93 plus or minus acre lot zoned as MRO, multiple residential and office, located north of Nashville Pike and west of Pilot View. As many of you can recall, this is the final master development plan in which the rezoning and PMDP were approved late last year, early this year, somewhere in that timeline. This final master development plan is consistent with the preliminary master development plan. And with that being said, staff does recommend approval of Resolution 2025-023 with the 11 conditions, and this one does not have a public comment.
A representative for the applicant.
Corey Nelson with 6.5 Design Group. We agree with all staff's comments besides 3, and I believe it's 10. Looking at if you want to go to 3 first, coordinate with Sumner County for ensure the existing septic system is adequate for the new office. Running the calculations for a single-family home, you're looking at 350 gallons per day. They would need an office size of about 18 people, which this house cannot supply. So the septic field, if you look at the plan, is fairly large, larger than most fields you see for single-family homes, and has been in place for 20 years. We can definitely coordinate with them, but it's a pretty, they're already using it. It's pretty known that it's adequate. And then number 10, with the easement, we don't feel that it is necessary for the easement to be on our property at this time. There's about 7 to 8 feet differential between the intersection right there and the home. If this was to ever be designed and redeveloped, one, they'd probably have some issues with the quarry underneath the site back to the property, and then 2, this home would pretty much be condemned. So we're asking to strike 3 and 10 for those reasons. Happy to answer any questions.
I guess a question for either engineering or planning staff. When you say coordinate with the Sumner County Environmental, are you asking just to call and ask them the question? Or are you looking for some type of documentation? I've never.
That wasn't my comment.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to look at you like it was. I just didn't know.
I have no knowledge of this comment.
I stepped out. What's the issue with the comment?
Just on on 3, coordinating with Sumner County Environmental to ensure the existing septic is adequate for the new office use.
Yes. So this building's on a septic system, and
Right.
we don't handle septic systems at all. Only the Environmental Services Office with the county does. And so we just wanted to make sure that they had conversations with them,
Okay.
that you had discussed it with them and there weren't any issues.
Okay, yeah, just to me and my client, it seemed like we had to do tests in the septic system and all these things.
No, I just wanted to make sure you talked to
just
them.
very-
And
okay.
if they're good, we're good.
It just seemed vague, I guess.
Well, yeah, and it's in Sumner County Environmental. I think that's actually I think those are actually state inspectors on the septic. I think those are
I
state.
think it changed a couple
did it?
years ago. Yeah.
Tells you how long it's been since I've done a septic system.
Yeah, we don't encounter it a lot. It's kind of like with a utility district. That's how I looked at it, is I put it in there just so you were aware, because you're changing from a house to an office. Now, an office should use less and have less of an impact on the septic system, but being that there is one, we just wanted it. Make sure those conversations were being had.
Okay.
But sounds like a non-event then.
Yeah. That's
Yes, sir.
Can I get engineering to respond to the applicant's objection to 10?
Sure. So the property line of this property lines up with about the middle of Hunt Club Boulevard. So unfortunately, without that easement, it wouldn't, the adjacent property wouldn't align with Hunt Club to align with what will be a signalized intersection. So the thought process there was to save an access easement that doesn't really affect what's going on with their property right now. Just at some future date, if there was redevelopment of the adjacent property, they could align a roadway with Hunt Club and have access to a traffic signal. That's the reasoning for that comment.
Sounds like a reasonable condition.
If I may ask.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't have
Rogers Group owns this entire site, so it is one owner, just 2 parcels right now. With this, there is no plan for the historic updates. It's very vague when you talk about easements, and when a city gets an easement on someone's property and they decide to move forward with that, some people get a little hesitant that, if you just built an easement there, just by the nature of putting that road stub in there, you're condemning the building to not being functional, almost. But typically that kind of happens with a PMDP or FMDP when the site is going towards development, which would be later in the future. And as this technically couldn't serve the intersection as is, it's a unneeded easement in my client's eyes, so asking to strike that.
Back to engineering. Is this easement only if this became a 4-way interchange, then that you had an access point going on to the Rogers Group property? Because I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, this is for, if that access easement is on there, then if they were to sell the bigger piece, they would be able to build a connection, build that 4th leg at that intersection.
Like he kind of indicated, I don't think anyone's going to be building on that property over there. It's got quarries underneath it. doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's a mine underneath.
Just past that screen is a huge, the quarry is just the mound right there, but underneath is kind of what's going on.
99% of the time, I would never override engineering's desire to have an easement on there, but I truly don't see there's any way that's going to happen. Do you?
No.
99.9% of the time, you'd be right on that.
Is that a motion?
I'm sure somebody wants to make a motion to override engineering.
I did it last time.
I'll make a motion for approval striking condition. No, 3's fine. 3 just says talk to the environmental agency.
Yeah, we're fine with that after clarification, so.
Striking condition 10.
Okay. Got a motion to approve striking condition 10. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, got a second by Albert. Any further questions, debate?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. All right, it is approved. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it, guys.
Item 10 is Resolution 2025-024 Nichols West.
Yes, the owner applicant requests approval for an FMDP for Nichols West subdivision located south of Nichols Lane, east of Lock 4 Road, proposing 139 single-family lots ranging from 6,600 to 11,000 square feet. It's on approximately 53 acres. This property is zoned R8 PRD. Some highlights over there. Some highlights on there. There are an additional 32 parallel parking spaces along the adjacent road to the required 2 parking spaces per lot. So that's a plus. There's a greenway connection that is 10 feet wide from Nichols Lane to the future Lock 4 banks. I want to see if I can do that. Yep, right there. It runs along the road all the way to Nichols 4. The subdivision has 2 access points, have Nicholas Lane and Bryan Drive, and there are stub outs for potential growth, including the street connection to the bank, the south, banks for Lot 4. To note, before the 31st building permit is issued, the developer will need to provide an approved 20-foot temporary fire easement, a drive easement to Bryan Lane, or have access to the banks on the south, banks at Lock 4, or have a viable secondary access approved by staff. Architects, Divine, let's see if I can get to it. The majority of the proposed elevations are consistent with the required 70% brick stone. They will need to remove a couple of the elevations that don't apply. There are minor corrections to the FMDP. Staff does recommend the approval of Resolution 2025-004 with 17 conditions of approval.
You have a representative for the applicant.
Hello, I'm Kaylee Stanton with CSDG, and we are in agreement with all staff comments, and I'm happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
I don't have any questions. I think we've got some more parking spaces added, so I think they've addressed everything that we've asked them for. So,
Yeah, remember, this might be straightforward.
yeah. Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Good. Got a motion to approve with staff 17 conditions. All right. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Got a motion, a second for approval with staff's 17 conditions of approval. Any further questions or debate? All right. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any of those opposed say no. All right. Passes. Thank you. Item 11 is Resolution 2025-025 Hunt Club Retail.
The owner and applicant request approval of a final master development plan for the Hunt Club retail development on 6.77 acre parcel zoned MU Mixed Use District located south of Nashville Pike and west of Hunt Club Boulevard. Staff had mostly minor comments around this. It's substantially similar to the PMDP. Have 70% brick and stone requirement met, both buildings. One of the notable conditions of the 15 is that the agreement to contribute the $50,000 toward the future traffic light. The Planning Department recommends approval of resolution number 2025-025 with the following 15 conditions.
Thank you. Do you have a representative for the applicant?
Tally with CSDG. No questions on the comments, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? This is very consistent with the preliminary, so.
If I remember, there was a question about the dumpster on the property line. Did we get that resolved?
We did. We rotated it and adjusted the property line. The property lines as they previously were somewhat placeholders should the owner want to divide it in the future, so not an issue.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll motion to approve.
All right, we've got a motion to approve with staff's 15 conditions of approval. I'll second it. Any further questions, debate? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 12 is Resolution 2025-026, 214 Ross Avenue.
Yes, the owner applicant requests approval for an FMDP for 2 single-family detached residential units with an HPR, horizontal property regime. It's on 0.24 acres, 10,350 square feet. It's zoned R6, high-density residential. It's located at 214 Ross Avenue in the LM Ross subdivision. The property was established in 1998, so no PMDP was required, it's just a FMDP. The multifamily detached is allowed on an R6, which makes this a special. What makes this a special is the 10,000 square foot lot is shared common area between the 2 residential units, including a shared driveway. The owner plans to sell the individual units, the HRP, the horizontal property regime documents will need to be submitted and approved by staff before the building permits are issued on that. The applicant is requesting approval for an alternative architectural plan. The new construction requires a 70% brick and stone. The applicant is proposing a split face brick at the bottom and vinyl siding. And he's doing 2 homes. So the applicant provided images of the houses in the subdivision and is requesting to use the same materials as what's already in the neighborhood to match the neighborhood. In addition, the applicant is requesting approval for an alternative landscaping plan. In the rear of the property is a commercial general. Regulations require that a 20-foot buffer yard be between the commercial district and the residential district. The owner is requesting to install a 6-foot wooden privacy fence in lieu of. Now, the applicant has met all the density and the setback requirements. Staff recommends approval of the resolution 2025-026 with 4 conditions of approval.
Thank you. Do we have a representative for the applicant or the applicant themselves?
My name is Michael Barnes. I'm the owner, and I do agree to the comments, and just here for questions.
Yeah, I drove through there. I don't have any problems with the vinyl siding in the neighborhood. The one request I would have is you've got just split face block on the foundation. I'd ask that you either brick or stone it instead of using split face block on it. That'd be the only ask that I would have at this point. So, but otherwise, it fits in the neighborhood and everything else looks good. So, anybody else have any comments?
You want to add that to?
Yeah, I would. So I'd make a motion to approve the staff's 4 conditions of approval, but adding the 5th condition that says change split face block to either be brick or stone on the foundation.
Second.
Motion a second. Any debate, any questions? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, it's approved. Thank you, sir. Item 13, Resolution 2025-020, Oak Grove Farms.
The owner and applicant request approval of a site plan for Oak Grove Farms for a 29,400 square foot building on 4.02 acres zoned CG Commercial General District located east of Maple Street and south of West Main. See the main structure they propose here, along with a couple of greenhouses and a covered shelter. The building itself would need an exception to the 70% brick and stone, as the back of it is proposed to be metal. Staff had some comments around connectivity between the adjoining lots for an access road. Let's see if I can get my pointer to work. There we go. And also throat lengths coming off of Main Street. I'll let engineering speak more to that. The Planning Department recommends approval of the resolution number 2025-020 with the following 16 conditions.
So we had, like you mentioned, we had 2 main comments. One was the throat length. Realistically, I don't think they have the space to move the building back to get the full 80 feet for it being a minor arterial. So one of the things that we're suggesting is removing the first parking space right next to each side of the driveway. So that's 3 parking spaces. We feel like that should kind of help with potential cars backing out of those spots and having some conflicts there. The other thing is connectivity to adjacent properties. They could do a frontage or backage road. I think the frontage road is probably a better option in this case. Other places along National Pike 31, this is what we've done. This helps us cut as developments redevelop. It helps us cut down on driveways on a major arterial. That would allow a connection from Fairgrounds Road all the way to Maple Street without them having to get back on West Main Street.
Thanks. Do we have a representative for the applicant?
Andy Leith, Greenlee Design, also accompanied by the owner of the property and the architect. And I've been easy all night long, so I have to discuss a few things on this one with you. I'll answer questions, or I can jump right into some of the things that we like to discuss, whichever you prefer.
Jump right in, because I'm sure it has to do with the questions I'm about to ask you.
Okay. The first is would be comment 2, the connectivity. I am a fan of connectivity, and some things work out really good on paper, but not in practice. And normally I'd be arguing for connectivity, but I'm not going to say anything's impossible, because anything's possible, but it's not practical here. The topography, if you'll switch over to the grading sheet, should be the next sheet. So you've got probably 6 or 7 or 5 or 6 foot of elevation difference between our property line and our drive. And that doesn't even include the elevation change on the Wilson Bank site.
7 feet's what I calculated.
And then over here on CVS, it's the same thing. And if you use CVS sorts down well below Main Street, and they sit down below our site. So if we connect in the front, I mean, the only way that's going to make connectivity realistic on these properties is if they all redevelop at the same time. So that's why I'm saying normally I wouldn't mind giving it, but the only thing that makes it practical is Wilson Bank, CVS, and this site developing at the exact same time.
If you reconnect to the front of CVS, you're right in their lane where people are pulling in and out. If you connect to the back, you're in their drive-through lane.
They have a retaining wall in the back.
In Wilson Bank and Trust, you're in their ATM lane if you're in the back there. And the front would be right into where people enter their site. I mean, it's difficult because they have side entrances right there on the road where you would be connecting on both sides.
And even if Wilson Bank or CVS redevelops in the near future, the next 5 or 10 years, hopefully Zach's still hoping to be in business there, they can't connect to us either because the topography's not going to allow for it.
Yeah, they'd have to build a ramp to get up to your elevation.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a fan of connectivity. I really am. It's not going to work out in practice.
Is there a creek between Wilson Bank and Trust and this site?
I think there's a creek between the bank. I don't think so.
Not that I'm aware of.
What about their suggestion to lose a couple of parking spaces on the, for the throat length?
So if we have to do that, then I feel like there's places on here we could gain them back. I mean, we have a cart return right there right now. That's the grade area on the front. So if we lose a parking space, I'll just shift make the cart return in one of those spaces, scoot it over. And the hatched area to the right of the greenhouses, that's a loading berth for people to come up and load their trucks up with stuff that they buy from the greenhouse. So that's really long right there. We could get a couple spaces back there if we needed to. So that takes care of two of the items that I wanted to talk about myself. The last one is comment number 10. Capture the drainage area flowing towards West Main Street and direct it towards on-site treatment. So if you can pull the grading sheet back up, please. So right now, if you go out to the site, you're all pretty familiar with it. The runoff tended to go in a northeast direction toward Wilson Bank, pre-developed, and it would hit a curb line, and that curb line would bring all that runoff to Main Street. With this design right here, we are cutting that drainage area down from approximately 1.16 acres down to 0.55 acres, and we're reducing the runoff already by 46% with this design. The reason I'm asking for comment 10 to be taken out of the record, I can't capture that water and get it back to a treatment area reasonably, or I won't be able to get the water out from the site. We're going to be too low by piping that water all the way from literally one of the lowest spots of the site back to the back. And with this design, we are cutting the runoff down by 46% to Main Street alone and providing water treatment for the majority of the site. So what I'm asking this body for is to strike comment 1 and strike comment 10, and we'll comply with comment 3 and the rest of the comments. Oh, sorry, Aaron. 2, yeah, we already turned the plat in. It's under review. And if Robin's here tonight, Robin Hood of Crossroads Architecture, he's got an exhibit that he threw together real quick if you want to see about how comment number 6, the sight line.
I didn't make enough copies, so I'm Robin Hood with Crossroads Architecture, and I just did a really quick exhibit. I talked with Rob Montgomery of Montgomery Engineering. We will be able to slide the HVAC units further back on the building, but as it stands right now, the sight line is clear. So, thank you.
A question on this. How is the visibility from the sides? Will that be still visible?
It depends. The units are further into the center of the roof. I would have to look at it from a side view. I could. I haven't done that yet, but I could look at it from a side view.
I would imagine from the adjacent properties, it'd be even harder to see because they sit so much lower.
The units are taller than the parapet wall that he's got. The parapet wall is a thinner line on there that he is illustrating. It's But we can look, you can look at it from both,
We can.
alongside Main Street coming north or south. At the end of the day, if they're going to be visible, then I think we have an option, or Robin thinks we can do some screening. What you're getting at.
I would suggest we add a condition that just states that all directions.
I think there's, yeah, it's right here, number 6.
Okay.
So do you feel like we need that condition, or you think it's already in there? Sorry, I was making a note, I missed what you said.
I guess that's acceptable.
So while y'all are looking, one point of clarification, Zach noticed in the staff report, this is not a multi-tenant building. He's going to own and operate all the spaces. I don't know if that makes a big deal, but it's still going to look the same.
Well, no, I'll just make a point. I mean, we've looked at several things on this site over the years, and, everybody knows what we're talking about. It's not an attractive site inside the city of Gallatin, so this is a huge improvement that is really welcome. So, I'm excited to see it
And this is
built.
something that is going to be unique to Gallatin. Like, nobody else is going to have this. Homegrown vegetables, grown, a lot of it in Sumner County, just up the road on his farm. And even the meats that you're selling there are locally processed meats. So, the whole premise behind this is everything is farm raised with inside the grocery store.
I think it's an incredible destination business, and I was so excited when we saw this last week because most of us have driven by that site for a long time, and glad that you've had such success and that you're kind of stepping out with such a cool plan for the future.
Yes, sir.
Completely in favor of the project, excited to see it come in. On the condition 10, when you say it's reducing the water runoff by 46%, but that is reducing it from a current giant, enormous asphalt parking lot. I mean,
No, it is.
Yeah, so it's kind of like saying I'm cleaning up pond water by 46%. It's a easy goal, but I don't think you can direct it to the back. There's no way. But is there a best practice, some type of something that we can put in that at least deals with water quality, not quantity, not trying to capture the water and put it back there, a small
So if there
rainbow
was,
pond or something.
if there was infrastructure, and Aaron, I went out there and looked, I don't think there's city infrastructure along this section of the highway. Right now, this water gets into the road. Some of it gets on the Wilson. It flows down to the Fairgrounds Road, and that's where it gets into infrastructure.
It doesn't go down to Wilson Bank.
No, there's a curb that keeps it from getting into Wilson Bank right now. If the city had some infrastructure in there, we could drop a water quality unit in, but dropping a water quality unit in, I don't have anywhere to dump it. It's just, if you go to the grading plan,
No stormwater infrastructure underground. The city doesn't have any pipe in there.
unless I'm wrong, but I went by there and looked, and I didn't see any inlets.
I don't see any catch basins along the gutter on West Main Street, along their frontage.
That would have worked out great if they had some infrastructure there, we could treat it and tie into it.
Well, I guess that would be my comment, is if they find that there's infrastructure in place and you can deal with water quality, I think that something's needed there to clean it up coming off the parking lot. If there's not infrastructure in place, then I don't see a practical.
I will say that we are going from 1.16 acres of completely impervious material, and the post-developed 0.28 acres is grass now. So we are getting some green into that drainage area that was not there before.
Oh, there's no question it's an improvement.
But to the point, if condition 10 is not possible to construct.
Not the way it's worded.
Yeah.
But
Got to make a stab at rewording it?
yeah, I would reword it to say that on condition number 10, strike the part that says and direct it towards on-site treatment and in place of that, put the words, and implement a water quality measure if existing city water infrastructure allows it. Is that reasonable?
I mean, it's a very open-ended comment.
Is it? Well,
It's very subjective. Of course, you know, I mean, I get along great with the guys in engineering, but maybe we could, if you can figure out a way to word it to where we can get something there, I can probably put some measures in. If you go back to the grading plan.
right now, what I'm hearing is it doesn't allow it. There's no
It's going to be very
stormwater drain.
difficult. Well, again, I tell my clients, yes, that, you know, we put people on the moon. We can do just about anything that we want to do if the cost is right and it allows for it. But the biggest issue with this is right now, the road is the collection system for this property. I mean, the water's coming into the road, hitting the gutter line and going down toward the fairgrounds. And I would rather let it stay doing what it's doing now rather than try to capture that and put it in a system and then dump it in a head wall right there on the road. Because right now it's doing what it's always done. And go to messing with it too much, and I think we might create a situation that's not as desirable.
The outdoor sales area be pervious surfaces?
So as far as outdoor, he has the greenhouses, then they've got that covered. And a lot of that water is not going to this area. So all the water, that, with the exception of what's going to Main Street, most of that's getting captured and treated in the rear behind McMillan's, or what used to be McMillan's. We've got very little from this site that's not going through the treatment in comparison. I understand the comment. There is a corner right up there that we could probably get up a little bit. So I can get a rain garden in there and I'll get as much to it as I can get to it. But there's enough relief in that topography right there to grade in a rain garden.
I think that would satisfy the intention of
Does that
condition 10.
satisfy y'all's intention?
I think so.
Okay.
So if we were to strike condition 10, but add a condition that's install a rain garden on
Northeast
the
corner.
northeast corner.
You want to make that as a motion?
Bill, so I'll make a motion to approve striking condition 10, but adding the new condition to install a rain garden on the northeast corner.
I'll second.
You got one more, and also to strike condition 2.
I'll
I
second.
don't think it's practical. Okay, so that's my motion, seconded
second.
by Mr. Thompson. And normally I would be all for the connectivity. I'm very familiar with the site. It's not possible. It's not practical. So, any further debate or conversations? That'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes unanimously. We're looking forward to seeing it come to Gallatin. Other business. I have nothing to announce. Brian, Jillian, do you guys have anything?
No other business.
Okay. I also have no announcements other than I would entertain a motion for adjournment. Got a motion, I'll second.